Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're digging into what happens in the brain, not just during a psychedelic experience, but in the weeks and months after. It's a period scientists are now calling a profound window for change.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Think about it. For decades, this stuff was completely off limits to researchers. Now, all of a sudden, some of the world's top universities are publishing these incredible studies, suggesting it could totally revolutionize how we treat things like depression and PTSD. So what on earth changed? And what did they discover about its lasting effects that made them rethink everything?
To really get why this is all happening now, you have to understand its backstory, which is, well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. This isn't some brand new discovery. It's more like a major rediscovery.
So things kicked off with a ton of scientific promise back in the late 50s and 60s. But then, culture and politics shifted, and bam, in 1971, the door to research just slammed shut. For almost 30 years, the entire field was basically frozen in time. It wasn't until the year 2000 that a team at Johns Hopkins managed to crack that door back open, leading, eventually, to a huge federal grant in 2021. This was more than just picking up where they left off. It was a full-blown scientific renaissance, powered by new tech that could finally show us what was really going on inside the brain.
So what is one of these modern therapeutic sessions actually like? Well, it turns out the chemical itself is only one piece of the puzzle. The outcome really hinges on two other incredibly important factors.
Yeah, this isn't like taking an aspirin and just waiting for it to work. The experience is anything but passive. Researchers have pinpointed two things that are just paramount: set and setting. Set is all about your internal state, your mindset, your intentions, your mood going in. And setting is everything external: the room, the guides, the music. And these things don't just influence the experience, the science is showing they actively co-create it.
And that's exactly why these clinical trials look nothing like you might imagine. We're talking about a cozy, safe space that feels more like a living room, with trained, supportive guides and even a carefully curated playlist. The research makes it crystal clear. Things like trust and support aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolutely essential for safety and for creating a positive therapeutic outcome.
Okay, so we've got the external factors covered, the set and setting. But now let's get to the real heart of the story. What is physically happening inside the brain? Because under the surface of this very carefully managed experience, something truly remarkable is going on.
How can one single experience cause such deep and often such long-lasting changes in someone's entire outlook on life? Well, to answer that, scientists have zeroed in on one key brain network that seems to tell a huge part of the story.
It's called the default mode network, or the DMN for short. And you can kind of think of it as the CEO of your ego. It's the part of your brain that's always telling you the story of you, chewing on the past, worrying about the future, maintaining that rigid sense of who you are. And in conditions like depression, this network can get stuck in overdrive, becoming really rigid.
And this, right here, is the key mechanism. When psilocybin comes on board, the DMN goes quiet. It's like the volume on that loud, often critical inner narrator gets turned way, way down. The rigid patterns that define our sense of self temporarily dissolve, and that creates the initial opening for change.
This is what they call the reboot effect. With the CEO on a coffee break, the rest of the brain's departments start talking to each other in new and creative ways. Brain regions that almost never communicate, say your visual cortex and your emotional centers, suddenly start firing together. The brain literally breaks out of its old, tired routines, which allows for totally new perspectives to bubble up.
But here's the thing that's really blowing researchers' minds, and it's what the latest science is all about. The most important part of this whole therapy might not even be the trip itself. It's what happens in the days, weeks, and even months that follow.
You see, that brain reboot creates this powerful afterglow effect, a state of heightened neuroplasticity. That's just the brain's natural ability to change and rewire itself, to literally grow new connections. So for a time afterwards, the mind is just more flexible, less rigid, and way more receptive to new ideas. This is that critical window of opportunity that has scientists so excited.
And just how powerful is this? Well, check this out. In a landmark study from Johns Hopkins back in 2006, a staggering 79% of people reported their life satisfaction and well-being had moderately to greatly increased, a full 2 months after just one session. And this isn't just a fleeting feeling, it sticks. When they followed up with those same people over a year later, 2/3 of them still rated the experience as one of the top 5 most meaningful events of their entire lives.
We're talking right up there with the birth of a child. And a full third said it was the single most meaningful experience they'd ever had.
This quote from the famous religious scholar Huston Smith really captures that profound, almost spiritual quality. For so many, it's not just about feeling good for a day. It's an experience of deep insight that fundamentally reshapes how they see themselves and their place in the universe.
And we see this durability in the hard clinical data too. In follow-up studies with patients who have major depression, the antidepressant effects were shown to last for up to a year for many of them. This points to real, measurable, long-term changes in how the brain is organized long after the drug is gone.
So, if this isn't a magic pill that just instantly cures you, how do people actually take these incredible moments and turn them into real, lasting change? The answer comes down to one absolutely crucial word: integration. And if there's one thing to really take away from all this, it's this right here. The psilocybin isn't the cure. It's the catalyst. It's what opens that window of neuroplasticity, making the brain fertile ground for change. It unlocks the door, but the hard work of actually walking through it, of building new habits and thought patterns, that has to be done while that window's open.
And this is what that full therapeutic journey looks like. It's not a one-day thing. It begins with careful preparation with therapists. Then comes the guided session itself. But the real work, the magic, happens in step 3, integration. That's the sustained effort in the weeks that follow of working to make sense of those insights and actively forge them into new behaviors. It's about using that period of heightened plasticity to consciously rewire your brain.
And really, this is the big question at the heart of all modern psychedelic science. The goal isn't just about triggering a profound experience anymore. It's about figuring out how we can best harness that window of change that follows, how to turn a temporary state of mind into a permanent new way of being, and how to build a better life in the new landscape the mind reveals.